I went into organic farming in 1999 and became fully certified in July 2001. My two main enterprises are cereal farming and beef farming. The cereal enterprise comprises winter corn only, no spring corn at all, and is predominantly oats for the porridge market and wheat then for animal feed. The rotation for the cereal enterprise is 3 years cereals and 2 years red clover. The red clover is putting the nitrogen into the soil for the following 3 years of cereals. This is all designed to take care of soil fertility, which is a critical thing in growing organic cereals successfully. You've got to build up the nitrogen for the cereal crops in the 2 years that you spend growing red clover, and then every year the soil will also get a dressing of about 20 tonnes per hectare of farmyard manure. So you can see this crop here, which was sown at the beginning of October. It's a very healthy green colour and a very good strike of seed, and in fact that's all my own seed, which was from last year's harvest. You can see small amounts of small weeds coming through. That's mainly chickweed, I think. But the crop is so far ahead of it at this stage that those weeds will be no problem. And also the crop is sown quite thick, which is also an important factor in weed control. What we're also looking at is to have biological life in that soil. When I was a conventional farmer, the materials that I was using were killing the life in that soil. So when you come into organic cereal farming, you really must look at what the biological life is like in the soil and take action to try and improve on that. So in my hands here, there are billions of organisms, all playing their own role in making this a fertile soil. And it's an area that I know very little about, but it is a fascinating area, and if you can get the biology of the soil correct, that soil will grow a healthy crop, give you a very good return, and will protect the crop from disease. So after the crop has been sown, it's not rolled or anything, there's no more done to it. And really the next operation is going into the combine at the end of July, beginning of August. The only thing that you might have to do if you had a weed problem would be, if it was a minor weed problem, you might actually have to go in there and pull some weeds. And I have done that. It's a lot of work, but if you have to do it, you have to do it. One thing that you want to avoid in organic cereal growing is you want to avoid spreading weeds. So if you have a very dirty crop and you go in and harvest that with the combine in the ordinary way, you're going to spread a lot of those weed seeds. So if your crop is bad enough, you actually might have to consider doing whole crop silage maybe a month before it's ripe, and gather all those weed seeds in there, put them into the silage, put them through the animals, into the dung, and compost all that down to kill all the weed seeds. That's the theory of how you do it. But otherwise you might, if there's a small infestation of, let's say, docks or wild oats, you actually go out and pull them. It's not negotiable as regards how you deal with weeds. You just have to deal with them. If you go out and combine them and spread them out in the field again, then you can reach a stage where that field will no longer be suitable for cereal farming. There are mechanical ways that you can control weeds. I haven't had to use them on this farm yet, but they can be done, and some of them are quite successful. Some of my friends think that I'm still on my honeymoon as regards the absence of weeds in my crops, but it's a long honeymoon and I'm certainly enjoying it. My two main enterprises are organic beef production and organic cereal production. The beef production is mainly based on buying in store cattle from other farmers and finishing them in the winter time. You could be cereal only, but it's not as simple at all as if you have the two enterprises mixed, because basically what you want to grow the cereals successfully is very good soil fertility. So if you have animal manure to go on to the soil where you're growing the cereals, that really makes soil fertility very, very simple to achieve. Whereas if you're entirely in cereals with no livestock, you would have to have some green manure crops every 4 or 5 years and plough them back into the soil. But it can be done. When the animals leave the sheds here in the month of April and May, I turn the dung inside in those sheds 3 or 4 times during the summertime in order to decompose the dung as much as possible so that it is in a very usable state when we spread it on the land in the autumn time, but also to increase the temperature in the dung to kill any weed seeds that there might be in there. So you're looking at getting this dung up to a temperature of 65 or 70 degrees. That temperature will kill whatever weed seeds are there. There's nothing new in organic farming at all, but with the benefit of science nowadays, we're beginning to understand why our ancestors undertook the farming practices that they had. So we're actually having to learn what they already knew, because for the last 50 years, all of that information died with those people and is in our local cemeteries all over the country. So we're having to reinvent organic farming, but it is not new. So they did a lot of the practices that we're now doing in terms of getting the soil right, in terms of proper crop rotation, and even in terms of getting the biological activity in the soil, getting that well. They also had practices that they didn't know the science of it, but it worked. Back in 1999, when I went into organic farming, my main reason was to make more money. I could see that there was a market there for these products and there was a premium there from the marketplace. Now that premium can go up or down depending on supply or demand. But in addition to some extra premium, I actually enjoy organic farming much better than I did conventional farming, because I'm working with the soil. I'm feeding the soil rather than feeding the crop. And if you feed the soil will give you a very good return. It will have, by and large, disease-free crops, weed-free crops, but you have to pay attention to detail. And if you do all that, it certainly will give you a great return. And I'm very happy that I changed over to organic farming, and that's the way I see my future.